Perfect.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are now live.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I think we have our audience is joining us as we speak. Let's give them another minute or two. It's only a minute after 4, and I want to make sure everybody has a chance to get on. So let's give everyone a minute or two more.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I just tweet again so people can connect. Yeah.
Doing the same. I should have pre-scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, I love your t-shirt, Max.
Thank you, Mission Blue.
I have my cap. I forgot to
Yeah,
wear my cap for Mission Blue.
exactly. Well, I have mine somewhere here too. It was having hand. Yeah.
Good job, good job. And I forgot to wear my film festival t-shirt. We have a brand new film festival t-shirt for 2020. So next time. Next time.
Exactly.
So I'm going to go ahead and get us started and welcome everybody that we have here on our screen and also those who are joining us virtually. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Anna Blanco and I'm the Executive Director of the International Ocean Film Festival based here in San Francisco. And it's my honor and my pleasure to be today's moderator for this discussion. As you all know, this is part of our World Oceans Day film series. So World Oceans Day was on Monday, June 8th, and I know we've all had a lot of discussions around protecting the ocean. So we're very excited to have this be a part of the overall festival film series and talking about the ocean. Today we have the distinct pleasure of showcasing and sharing with you the Galapagos Evolution, which was selected for this year's 2020 Film Festival. It's an official selection of the film. And if you haven't had a chance to see it online, it's available until tomorrow. I know a lot of people registered for both the film and for the Q&A, and given our busy schedules these days, just keep in mind that it's available through tomorrow. We're also recording today's Q&A, and that will be available for another week or so. And that will live on our website once we're done today, so you can always come back and revisit. I'd also like to point out today, and I don't know how many people out there know this, but today is June 11th, which is also Jacques Cousteau's birthday. So he would be celebrating 110 years old, or years young. And as the inventor of scuba diving, it's fitting that we're showcasing this film today. And his pioneering exploration, innovation, and scientific expeditions vastly improved our understanding of ocean ecosystems, which we'll see today in this film. And his vision to maintain and restore healthy oceans for all humanity brings us together here today. So it's my pleasure to introduce our guest. First of all, I'm going to start with Roberto Ochoa. Give us a little wave, Roberto. Thank you. Roberto is a highly regarded filmmaker who is behind Galapagos Evolution. He was born in Cuenca, Ecuador, in the Andes Mountains, far away from the ocean. But his passion and his interest led him to make this film and led him to become a scuba diver as well as a filmmaker. Roberto joins us today from Guayaquil, Ecuador, also along the shores of the Pacific Ocean. So welcome, Roberto.
Thank you, Anna, and hello to everyone. Thank you for watching the Galapagos Evolution, and even better today, that is Cousteau's birthday.
Yes, happy birthday.
And if I can jump in, Anna, as we're getting started, we're seeing where some of the people are connecting from. We have people from San Francisco, Portland, Tijuana so far. So we're excited to see people from all around connecting.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you, Sebastian. Joining us from Washington, D.C., I'd like to welcome Max Bello, who is currently the advisor on global ocean policy with Mission Blue. Max is an international ocean policy expert who has worked in the environmental arena for over 2 decades to advance marine conservation priorities. He's worked for non-governmental organizations in Chile and the United States, including the Pew Charitable Trust, Oceana, World Wildlife Fund, Island Conservation, and the Blue Whale Center, among others. His work at Mission Blue is focused on securing and elevating global marine conservation targets, engaging local and national governments in protecting their own waters and advancing marine conservation priorities. At his core, he is an activist with love for nature and at the heart of everything he does. So welcome, Max. Thank you for being here. And last but not least, I like to introduce my colleague and my friend, Sebastian Nichols, who is the chair of the board of directors of the International Ocean Film Festival and a conservation professional working on international ocean policy as well. Sebastian has been diving since the age of 15 and has more than 500 dives under his belt. And he's promised to take me to Cabo Pulmo in November. So I'm going to hold you to that, Sebastian. And Sebastian joins us from Miami, Florida. So welcome. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Anna. Great to be here, and great to be here among such good friends.
Thank you. I'd also like to remind everybody who's joining us virtually that we will open the floor to questions once we've had a chance to go over some of our questions today. So please remember to use your chat feature and submit your questions along the way, and we will be answering them along the way as well. So to give everyone a little bit of context about the International Ocean Film Festival, I just want to give you a little bit of background about who we are and what we do. We're an year-round ocean conservation organization, and it's our mission to use the power of film, namely visual storytelling, to save our oceans one film at a time. And we hope that by using these films, it becomes an inspiration for our audiences to take action to help protect our oceans. Every year in March, we host a film festival where we screen more than 55 independent films from around the world. We invite filmmakers to join us from around the world. We get an average attendance of about 5,000 people. We also have panel discussions and 2 exciting and robust education programs designed to inspire our future ocean leaders, namely kids who are in middle school and high school, inspire them to become ocean conservationists, to consider marine biology as a career, and also consider the art of filmmaking as a career as well. Our programs travel across the US and around the world. We have a traveling program where we take films on the road, additional screenings with marine partners around the world. And the idea is to further amplify the messaging in the oceans, in the films regarding the ocean. So let's get started. And what I'd like to say first is, throughout history, storytelling has been used to connect people and to connect generations of people. And we see film as doing exactly that same thing. We're also connected by the oceans. And everything we do and don't do with regards to the ocean connects us all. And I think we're seeing that more and more these days. But to keep it simple, to have life on Earth, we have to have a healthy ocean. And to have a healthy ocean, we need to protect it and tell stories that help to connect us all and to connect the messaging that films tell us about how to protect our oceans and how to become better ocean stewards. So for today's discussion, I'd like to start with Roberto and start with a conversation about the film itself. Roberto, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, what inspired you to make this film, and how does the title of the film give context to the story of the film?
Hi, Anna. Thank you for asking. Yes. Well, I've been doing filming for my last 8 years now. And since my first expedition that I worked in a big project called Pristine Seas with National Geographic in 2015, we did this expedition led by Henrik Sala. from Spain to protect the Galapagos Islands. Well, we were in the northern islands, Darwin and Wolf. We did this big expedition even with a submersible to try to discover, to see what we can find at least 500 meters deep in most of the islands in the Galapagos. And of course, with that, the best technique to film sharks was by using rebreathers. And why rebreathers? Because there's no bubbles with rebreathers. So with this technique, you can approach very close to most of the wildlife or marine megafauna. But this is the thing. With this type of equipments and having cameras and having all the scuba diving equipment, your tank, your BCD and everything, is very hard to move around. And also this type of technology was a little bit hard to move underwater and get really, really close to all marine life. So that's why actually with that, I decided to use another technique. That is how we started actually. Scuba diving was invented by Cousteau and other persons, and but before that, for fishing or for going underwater was free diving or apnea. So that's why I decided to go back in time and try to do that for the first time in the Galapagos Islands, because with this type of technique, it was better to move around with all marine life. So this is a better way to connect with nature, with all the marine megafauna that we have in the islands. So with this, I proposed to Pierre Cousteau that Pierre Cousteau is the youngest son of famous oceanographer, videographer Jacques Cousteau, to do this first expedition, a free diving expedition in the Galapagos. And of course, why in Galapagos? Because Galapagos is the best, maybe, or by many people, is one of the best places for diving with marine megafauna. So if we want to show the people the best way to reconnect with nature, is better to choose Galapagos, because it's a place unreal with a lot of life, with an untouched nature and untouched islands. So we proposed I proposed the idea to the sponsors of the documentary, and of course with Pierre, and we start doing the script with him to do this expedition. And this was the first time to do something like that in the Galapagos Islands. So we thought maybe we need the best free divers, the best people to go and do this, because it's going to be the first time to be in this kind of conditions with this type of marine life with so many sharks and everything. So we proposed to one of the sponsors, Crazy, that they sponsor the best free divers in the world, like Guillaume Nery, that is one of the was a world free diver champion, and also the marine biologist Ocean Ramsey, that she specialized with sharks, to do this expedition. And of course they say yes. This was the first time to do something like this in the Galapagos, and this is actually where evolution was discovered by Darwin. And of course, let's go back. Let's do this. Let's do this again. And this actually, the expedition happened in 2016.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. And there's some amazing footage in the film of freediving. Guillaume Nery, the famous French freediver, has also submitted films to us at the film festival. We have one this year entitled One Breath Around the World. So for a moment here, I'd like to share some of that footage from the film around freediving, only because, not only to share the freediving aspect about it, which I've heard is one of the fastest growing ocean sports, but also to see the abundance of wildlife that exists in the Galapagos. So let's roll the clip.
I don't have screen sharing, Anna.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me. There you go. You should have it now.
All right. Yeah, and some of us, Max and Roberto, of course, have had experiences to be in the water with these types of massive aggregations. So we'll show and have everyone that's online with us jump in the water with us for a minute. All right. Could watch that all day, but that's the clip that we have for you guys today.
Yay. I wish I was there right now. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Isn't it beautiful? Oh my gosh. In another part of the film, and we want to show a small clip from that, and I think that's the two clips we'll show for now, Roberto, but the Charles Darwin Foundation is mentioned in the film, and I know they had a role to play. Can you tell us a little bit more about their shark research and how they impacted your filmmaking for this particular film?
Yes, they started to work with local kids first, doing this project called Ponte la Aleta y Cuida el Planeta. That is, put the fin and take care of the earth, or save the earth. Okay, and this is how they show local kids how really important it is to have sharks alive in our ocean. And actually we invite the local kids that they were working on the project in the Galapagos. We invite them to free dive with our ambassadors of the documentary. And after that, actually we show a short video that we use it as a tool of education. That is a virtual reality video. That is part in Darwin, and the other part we did it with kids. And all the best kids that they did in the project, they came with us to the part of the documentary, to part of the project, to free dive and snorkel with juvenile sharks. So you can see at the end of the documentary, you see how they are not scared anymore. And just imagine that having these small islands with no more than 30,000 people living in there, and some of the kids, they are maybe scared of the ocean. They don't want to jump in the water because they know that there is sharks around. So this can really change their mind. And we did with this project, we did it in Santa Cruz with most of the kids in there, and also now they are our shark ambassadors in the Galapagos Islands. With this, also with this virtual reality, I didn't tell you about this yesterday, but with this virtual reality now we're working not only in the Galapagos, but also in Ecuador coast. We've been working also with young kids from other places. Each of our ambassadors from Ocean Evolution has that as a tool of education. So they've been working with local kids from different places in the world. Like we've been working that for 4 years already in the Salon de Plongeon in France. We've been using that also in Dima Show in the United States, and also at the Boot Dusseldorf. And it's been one of the best tools for education, to show kids that you can really get a connection. You can really interact with marine life, with sharks, with rays, while seeing this type of material.
It would definitely, and we're seeing a lot more virtual filmmaking taking place in the film festival. And it has not only a tremendous impact on kids and in teaching them about what's beautiful, what lies below the waterline, but it also teaches people who may not know how to swim, or anybody who's too afraid to become a scuba diver or too afraid to start freediving. So definitely a tool for the future and a very impactful tool. What I like so much about that is the Hammerhead Sharks. They're fascinating and they're beautiful. So Max, I'd like to ask you about that. I know you've worked for decades in international ocean conservation, and from efforts to better protect sharks through CITES to better protecting critical habitats in the Eastern Pacific, like this one in the Galapagos Islands. Can you tell us a little bit about the migration of these particular hammerhead sharks, how far they go, where they go? And how can these species be effectively protected even when their migrations take them outside of marine sanctuary boundaries?
Well, the Galapagos sharks and several other sharks, as we know, they're highly migratory, which means that they move through the ocean. There's some sharks that actually we are just learning that they're crossing the ocean, that they're crossing the Pacific Ocean, for example. These sharks in particular, they go between these marine protected areas. And that doesn't just happen because those areas are protected. Well, those islands where those marine protected areas are anchored, basically they're the areas that where those sea mountains that are under the water comes out of the water. So those are the islands. But under the water, there are a whole range of mountains that connects these islands. So we can see there's the Galapagos Islands, that is pointing Sebastian. Then you can go to Cocos Island in Costa Rica, and you can see also how different it is, the world, when you look into the ocean. Costa Rica and Ecuador are connected through the economic exclusive zone, or of these areas that have basically expanded. No, if you look at Costa Rica is so much bigger in terms of ocean than it is in land, actually. No, and then you have Cocos Island, that is a very tiny island, where the same sharks are actually going, the same sharks that you will find, and probably the same shark that Roberto beautifully portrayed in his movie. They're connected with these other islands. Cocos is there, Sebastian is pointing now. Cocos Island have a small marine protected area in their EEZ. And then there's Malpelo. Malpelo is in Colombia. And as you can see, we actually, some of these pictures that we're showing here, they're very, that's Malpelo exactly. There's some of these pictures that we're showing here, and the maps and the lines that you look at, they're sharks that have been tagged, meaning that some particular thing is being put it in their skin to track their movements by satellite. That means that we know now they have been, for example, in Galapagos, and they moved toward Cocos, and then they moved toward, for example, Malpelo. But some of it goes as far as Revillagigedo in Mexico, which is the new marine protected area, 150,000 kilometers square. Now, what happened there, it's even though those animals are looking for, you know, the sea mountains, and also the hammerhead have a particular capacity to actually feel the energy, the magnetism on the earth. They can actually go through these roads, real roads in between these islands. The problem is those marine protected areas are not connected. And therefore they might gonna be catch in between by some other you know, activities like fishing.
So if I can jump in, Anna, I'd just like to show one more thing to Max's point there, because now with satellite data you can see fishing activity, and here you have, you know, the marine protected area boundaries, and Max has told me about it. So Max, can you talk a little bit about what we see here, how the fishing activity goes right around those marine protected area borders?
Well, you can see, for example, like right outside of the Galapagos. So Galapagos Reserve, it is a big reserve. It used to be one of the biggest on Earth, actually. And happily now there are bigger marine protected areas, but we're hoping that Galapagos will become again one of those big marine protected areas. Right outside, it's the industry, basically the tuna industry, fishing. The Ecuadorian fleet is actually one of the biggest on Earth that is fishing in the area. If you go outside of the economic exclusive zone, so if you can help me to show there, that area and those points there, the white points, are basically the Chinese vessels fishing. There, in time of the year, there are more than 600 vessels fishing right outside, basically for calamari, but also they fish for other things. And the Ecuadorians did a great job a couple of years ago. They captured one of those that entered, and it was passing through without letting know the authorities that are actually passing, and they stopped it. Tons of sharks were found inside of that vessel. So that is basically we think of sometimes, you know, in a kind of in a land perspective, but the ocean is actually so much connected, and these sharks are moving far away from these marine protected areas, which means that we need better management for sure of fisheries, but we need more and bigger marine protected areas. So the call of Roberto and showing us these sharks close and in a more human way, it is extremely important. And I always said, like, you know, communication is a way of conservation too. And so I'm very glad that we're talking today here and with everyone. If you want to look onto those maps later on too, there's some maps where sharks that we put tags on just now in October, and they came out of the area, went to Cocos, went to Malpelo, in other areas. So this is critical. It is important that we know these species are in danger, and they're captured for their fins mainly.
So, so that's a good point. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the recent discovery of the fins in Hong Kong? You know, this 26 tons. Is there? Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, the Hong Kong authorities, they say a boat. A big amount of fins that they were transported on a vessel, containers to Hong Kong market. Fins that were basically from species like silky sharks and treasures. These two are very interesting because treasures are mainly fished by the artisanal fishermen of mainland of Ecuador, and silky sharks are the main bycatch of tuna industry of Ecuadorians too, but industry, as I said. that are fish with floating objects. Huge damage to nature. Most of them are actually juveniles. What we've seen now, it's that's about 60% of the fins that are commercialized in Asia of the hammerheads. That they're coming from this area. So this area, it's the main provider of some of these species. Silky sharks are even higher. About 70% of the fins that are found in Hong Kong, in Asia now, they're coming from this area, from this species. So we're talking about this area is providing, a very unsustainable market for fins that have no nutritional value, that have no flavor even, because it's actually the soup that gives, all the things that put in the soup. And it's just a luxurious thing to do, but it's driving basically the disappearance of this species.
Which is so interesting and remarkable and sad at the same time to see that much effect taking place. Which brings us to the Cocos Islands Galapagos Swimway, recently nominated by our friends up at Turtle Island Restoration Network. Thank you, Todd Steiner and your team. And it's fascinating to see that a swimway has become a hope spot. Can you tell us a little bit more about what it means to be a hope spot, and what we can do to help create more hope spots, or just what's the significance of a hope spot, and how can countries come together to make them more protected than what they already are?
Well, hope spot are something that was thought by Sylvia Earle, an incredible woman that I have the pleasure and the privilege to work with, that basically they're areas of great importance in their ecosystem, their vulnerability, but at the same time they're been trying to be protected by the local people, scientists that have been working on these areas. And so she opened the door basically to bring those proposals to be potentially hope spot. There's a whole process that you need to go through to prove that this area is important, that there are people engaged, there are champions that are engaged to protect those areas. And so we help them to create awareness, and we help them also now to actually also be protected. There are areas, for example, like Cocos Island is one, Galapagos is one, Malpelo it is one. Many scientists, like Roberto was mentioning, the Charles Darwin. We went just in October, also in Galapagos, and we also went on an expedition to research with the Fundación Charles Darwin on some kelp, deep kelp that exists in Galapagos. I mean, kelp forest that is in Galapagos. So who would think about it? We were, with sharks, we were tagging sharks, also working very close with Migramar. And I want to thank Alex Hearn, who provide those images to Migramar, is working all in the region from Chile to Mexico with different incredible biologists. They're producing this information, as well as Fundación Charles Darwin. So this is exactly what it means to be a hope spot. There's hope on those places. There's hope that there are people that are working for them. There's hope that we can actually protect them in the end. Mm-hmm. And so we are, highlighting those places, highlighting these people there. And Roberto, in a way, is a huge champion as well, because he's doing with this communication, with all the feelings that his movies, and I would invite you to not only see the Galapagos, but the Revillagigedo, and now he's working in Cuba. It is incredible to highlight those places. We didn't know much about these places before, and now we have the capacity, we have the technology, and it is great that it's happening.
And we also have the motivation and the inspiration. When you have a chance to see what actually lives underneath the waterline, you become passionate about it and you become excited about it. I am a recently certified diver. I have to admit. And Sylvia inspired me to become a diver. When I first met her, and I've had the opportunity to meet with her many times, she just basically flat out said, "What are you waiting for?" And that was enough to push me into the water. And so I'm forever, eternally grateful to Sylvia for suggesting that I do that. You touched upon the Charles Darwin Foundation, and I want to share a clip from the film that talks a little bit about what they're trying to do in the Galapagos, because it's important, and Roberto put them in the film, and I'd like to share a short clip from them as well.
For example, we know that sea lions or dolphins, mammals in general, care for their young. So they look after them, they protect them from predators like sharks. Hammerheads, because they have been evolving over the last 450 million years, they have special senses that allow them to take these regional migrations across the tropical Eastern Pacific, between Darwin and Wolf to the oceanic islands like Cocos in Costa Rica or Malpena in Colombia. And they use their special senses to follow magnetic fields. So they know where to go from Darwin to Cocos Island, that is over 1,000 kilometers away.
So thank you for doing that. Very interesting. So this whole conversation is a tad bittersweet for me, because I was scheduled to be in the Galapagos next month, actually. But my trip got canceled due to the current situation of COVID-19 and the pandemic. And I feel like we should bring it up and mention it and talk a little bit about how is opening up the world post-COVID-19 going to affect our research and our protection of the ocean. I think it's important to highlight how it might affect us all and what we can do. And I was talking to Sebastian about it earlier, so I think I'd like to have him chime in on that. Sebastian.
Yeah. Thank you, Anna. I'll say, with COVID, I think we're seeing a couple of things. One, obviously, we've been disconnected from the ocean in terms of we can't get back in there. And Roberto can tell us a little bit about that, because he was sharing. He's just been able to get scuba diving approved as a sport to be able to practice safely in Ecuador. But what it's also shown, and this is something that Max really made me see, is the way that we're exploiting nature is driving us to these limits, right? If we've exploited nature, there's higher risks of contact with animals. If we're eating animals from different places, higher risk of zoonotic diseases that come from animals to humans. So I think it's a really big lesson maybe and sign that we're hitting things that we shouldn't be doing to the planet. So I wanted to let Max and Roberto, each of you, tell us kind of what you think this is showing us about what we're doing and what the right path is to take in the recovery. Max, I think you're...
Yeah, I know, I'm giving to Roberto if you want.
Yes, and actually, as Sebastian said, finally, tomorrow we're going to be back in the water, finally. We've been working in all the protocols for our safety diving, and we've been working with all the dive shops. But this is actually the real problem right now in the Galapagos, because right now, after all this emergency, there's no tourists, and most of the people from Galapagos are work with tourism, and actually most of the diving is because the people that they want to go diving there is because they want to see sharks. And right now that everything is going to come back, actually Galapagos will reopen the Galapagos National Park, I think on July 1st in Ecuador coast, already started since Monday. But we're gonna have a lot of problems in Ecuador and also in the Galapagos, because the tourism is gonna be very, very, very slow during this year, and it will affect actually most of the people that they live there, because they're not gonna have any income for this year, and it's gonna take a long time to come back. and have a normal life as they used to live when before this emergency. But also, you see what is actually happened with other places. Like in this case, Galapagos, that is protected. You can see so much life. Is like going back 50 or 60 years. But if you go to another places, and that in this case, Ecuador coast. In Ecuador coast, a long time ago, for diving, maybe was very similar than Galapagos. Even in Isla de la Plata, there's a small island in front of Manabí province. They used to call it Galapagos Chiquito, small, little Galapagos. And why? Because it was an amazing area. It's a place that if you go you go on land, you see the same blue-footed boobies that you can see in the Galapagos, but you used to see maybe hammerheads or other type of sharks that you don't see it anymore. It's very, very rare to see a shark in this island. Maybe find the manta rays that they move from Galapagos to Ecuador coast and the northern part of Peru, but no sharks anymore. And it's because of everything that is happening right now with commercial fishermen that take all the shark fins to Hong Kong and all this part of Asia. So you see the difference, and that's why we wanted to propose this film and try to involve everybody, to involve the world, the young kids, to see these type of documentaries, because it's the only way to reconnect with nature, because you see what is really happening in other islands. So and also, of course, the technology that we did with 360 degrees also help us a lot to work with young kids. But this is the best way, and also the best way to show marine life, how they can interact with humans. And not only for freediving, you can even do a snorkel with sharks. And in Galapagos also, most of the liveaboards that they have there, you can snorkel with sharks. And in young kids, the young tourists, and they can go snorkel and have an interaction with sharks. So that's why we did this also with freediving, because in this case, freediving is more cheaper for a person to go freedive or snorkel than to do scuba diving. Because in this case of scuba diving, you have to buy your equipment, you have to buy your BCD, your wetsuit, everything. But in this case, for freediving or snorkels, maybe just a pair of fins and a mask, and that's it. So you can involve much more people. And you see now how freediving is increasingly worldwide, because you don't have to make so much courses. And at the same time, you can do a snorkel, you can freedive in the morning and fly in the afternoon, fly back home. And actually in this case, Bahamas, and sometimes I travel to Bimini, and I arrive to Miami, and then I take a ferry or an airplane to arrive in the Bahamas, and I can free dive easily. And then in the afternoon, just fly back to Ecuador, and I don't have to pay one more day for hotel. In this case, scuba diving, you need to wait 24 hours. So all these type of things can help the people, because it's more affordable. It's more affordable. It's more easy. Actually, also, if you travel, you have to take another luggage just with all the equipment, And this actually happened to me, because first I have my equipment just for the cameras, right? One whole suit just for cameras, and then another whole suit just for scuba diving equipment. Now I only carry one. That's it. And so it's more affordable for everyone. And so you're going to have more people involved with the ocean.
Yeah, it's a great way to access the ocean. But I want to get also, Max, your thoughts on this, because you've been thinking about also, how do we think about what our relationship is to nature? Is it broken now? And is COVID showing us that? And in the US also, we have this conversation around the legacy of racism. And if we think of global climate change, it's primarily caused by wealthy nations and primarily hurts people in what's called the global South, that tend to be more people of color, more Black people. So can you tell us a little bit about both things, kind of COVID, and why we need to think about social justice as an integral part of environmental justice?
I think, Sebastian, I mean, it is such an incredible time to live. No, we're all kind of like, really, like, this is happening. It's like, it looks more like a reality show or something. We're almost expecting like the zombies now coming out or something, but but it is real, and we did this to Earth, no? And I think there's something that is very interesting to me on seeing how these things communicate. The virus have no I mean, they don't differentiate anyone, whether it's you, it's men, it's women, you know, color, you know, if you're rich or poor, whatever it is. It's we're all in this, and I think it gives you also a sense of global sort of like share. We are all connected, no, and we're all the same vulnerable. There's nobody special in this, and climate change is exactly the same, and loss of biodiversity is exactly the same. If we don't change now, if we don't do this together, and we together, and nobody, you know, like, again, like, these differences in society, it doesn't work. We're all looking the same now. We are trying to lower the curve or whatever it is. We're looking into science. For first time, we're so focused on science, and I wish people after this pandemic also focus on science, on what is science been saying about climate change, and how we are losing all of these incredible animals. Sharks have been for 450 million years in this world, and they're disappearing in front of our eyes for soup and for other things. And as you said too, look at the impact of our, you know, life. You want to eat tuna? Well, tuna comes with shark. You know, that expensive tuna that you're eating, you know, then it comes with sharks. The big impact of those fisheries have over the shark populations are huge, are massive. And so we need to change this. You know, a good friend always talk about the ecological economy, or the economy of ecology. I think we need to change our view, our economic view, our views on how actually life is so easy. It's not easy. What you're picking up in the supermarket wasn't that easy to take it, for the world to create it. You know how much effort takes actually to create a tuna. It's not just the, you know, to take it in the supermarket. So I'm hoping that we're gonna be differently connected. And just to finalize on this idea, when you get sick, when you're sick, you don't go immediately after, you know, you're kind of starting to recover. You don't go running. You don't go like doing everything you do. You take care of yourself, no? And I'm hoping that after we've been sick, as humanity, we're coming back to take care of the earth, to take care in a different way, because it is time to take care of that. That is what is actually giving us life. We've been looking in Mars and many other places up, you know, an ocean. That's what it makes actually different from any other planet. It is the ocean, a liquid ocean that have all this life that Roberto has been, you know, beautifully taken in these images. And if we don't have that, we don't have life, we don't have humanity.
Exactly, very well put. Very, very well put.
Thank you so much, Max.
Thank you.
If I can go along with that, I'd like to just add and make one comment. You know, part of the cost you were saying, Max, is it's not just getting it in the supermarket. Part of the hidden cost of it is also the people involved. Often the shark fishing fleets have the worst human rights abuses. You know, they'll take people and use almost slave labor on some of them. So they're abusive not just to nature, but often to the people that they're using to abuse nature.
Absolutely.
And to your other point about healing, you know, we talk, if you're sick, it's exactly right. We say, take care of yourself. For the planet, we're seeing there's bad impacts, and we're saying, let's take care of 30% or 50%. And it just goes to show we don't have this philosophy of really taking care and being stewards of that amazing natural richness that we have and that makes life possible on Earth.
And just also to connect with that, Sebastian, I think it is very important to highlight that Ecuador has been taking some measures after the situation with the fins, and now it's closing the export of fins of hammerheads and oceanic white-tip shark, even though there's no much of those fins, but they're also on CITES. And there's important work that Ecuador has been doing, and President Moreno just in December actually announced his interest of expanding Galapagos. So I can see there's governments and decision makers that are thinking about how we're going to recover after that. And Roberto just mentioned, Galapagos lives out of the tourism. So, but it lives also out of a beautiful and productive place. The fact that these people have still fish to fish there is because we've been taking care of that place. If we expand those areas, marine protected areas, we're taking care of this. You don't go to the doctor and say like, can you just take care of my arm? No, you want to take care of your whole body, and that's how we need to start taking care of the whole body of this planet, not just part of it. I mean, 10%. Okay, crumbles. 30%, we're on a good track, but we need a lot more than that. How much you pay, how much you're gonna give to the thing that gives life.
Exactly, very well put. Thank you so much for that. I'd like to, if we can, transfer it over to our audience and see if there's some audience questions that we'd like to answer while we have a few minutes here.
Yeah, we have a couple, and I'll go first with a question from Johnny. It's asking, what are some steps someone who isn't directly involved in global conservation can do to promote marine conservation in the Galapagos and beyond?
Roberto,
you wanna start, Roberto?
Well, there's a lot of questions also, is very similar to this, to the persons that just graduating from high school or young kids that they want to promote conservation. Maybe start involving in watching all documentaries about ocean conservation. That's number one. Second, you can do a lot of stuff with social media now. So many things. Start in this case with Facebook. You can share most of the ocean conservation projects from maybe Mission Blue, from Charles Darwin Foundation. Start searching all that and share it to everybody. That's one of the best ways first to promote ocean conservation, and also of course go to the ocean. If you're not a filmmaker, maybe you just can buy a simple GoPro or something and start filming everything that you can find in your ocean. If you see problems in the ocean, like in this case, one of the videos that got viral for me was because I found a big manta ray, a 7-meter manta ray with a huge fishing line all around, and this manta ray came to me asking for help. She stayed with me. She stayed right next to me, and I didn't know what was going on. And when I saw her very, very close, I saw that this big fishing line attached to all her body, and then with this fishing line was like around 11 to 14 hooks tied to her belly. And I started to take everything out. I don't know why that day I was having a GoPro with me, and then my friend started to film all that. When I took all that fishing line out of the manta ray, that manta ray stayed with me for 45 minutes, the whole dive. And then another manta rays came to her, and they were looking around her like they're very, very smart. The brain of the manta ray is huge. And they're very, very, very smart, and they know that something was wrong with her. And then all the manta rays came to dive with me finally. And then the whole season, the whole manta ray season in Bajo Copé here in Ecuador coast, every time that I jump in the water, after that day that happened, that manta ray recognized me and stay with me every time that I jump in the water. They move around, they go to Galapagos, they go to actually to the northern part of Peru. I couldn't find her anymore, but this is real. This is a real action. And actually with this video, you're promoting conservation. If you see something that a problem in the water, maybe help and support that. And if you have a single camera, just try to share that with your friends, with social media, with all the people that they follow you, because that's gonna support a lot.
That's a beautiful story, Roberto. Thank you for sharing it with us. Max, do you have any advice for people that want to support ocean conservation? Maybe
there are so many. Actually, I mean, I can think of, like, for example, when you go to a supermarket, you need to know what you're buying. What is the impact of that? Salmon that comes from farming in Patagonia in Chile, it's it has incredible impact over that ecosystem. Salmons are actually not even from that area. They were introduced, but also from other places in Canada and others. I think also education is a key one. I mean, I was talking today with an old friend that we just re-encountered each other. We were in Antarctica years ago, and she now runs this organization on education. And she was telling me something that I didn't think about. And many of the kids today, they're on a screen, they're in their houses. These are the generation that are gonna take over someday soon. And do they know nature? I mean, they probably, many of them, they don't. And so they're taking them out, they're showing them, like, Fundación Charles Darwin is doing in Galapagos. Many of the kids don't even know how to swim. Roberto mentioned, that's exactly what is happening. We are losing the connection with the ocean. My kid, Benji, and Rio, but Benji have incredible ideas, and he builds this incredible ecosystem like kelp forest, and that's all of this, and the sharks are here and there, and he knows the species, and it's amazing. And then he sends videos to Sylvia, of course, and building summer. He's connected, more connected. We don't have TV. I don't have TV for more than 20 years, and we still are, we are up to date of the news and everything. The kids need to go out, need to touch trees, nature, fully connected. And I think that is incredible. There is a girl in Colombia that has been incredibly active, Gabi. She have a project in Colombia to protect the ocean, to call the attention of people. She have now a program in Caracol Radio in Colombia. She's the youngest of all the participants of the radio, 12 years old. I mean, when people ask me, like, what do I have to do? What do I, scramble, like going here or there? Look, there's a 12 years old. She have a program in radio. She's calling the attention. She's teaching, helping other people to understand.
And I want to just say on that, Max, Gabi actually joined us for this live stream, so she's in the audience here.
Yeah.
Gabi, big hug.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we can learn from these people from anywhere. You can do so many things, so it's open.
Exactly.
I'll ask one more audience question and pass it over to you, Anna, for the closing one. Ellen asked us, is there something else that we should look out for? Roberto, you were telling Anna and Max and I about a project that you're looking forward to in the future. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I was looking up to the questions, and yes, the second documentary that we did is Ochoa Evolution, that is also available right now in Amazon Prime, iTunes, and Google Play. And actually, we supposed to do our third documentary that is in Cuba. That is one of the most pristine mangroves area in called Jardines de la Reina. This place, I think for me, it's the best place in the Caribbean. It's the most protected zone because it's very, very protected for all the hurricanes. So you can see all the mangrove that is very clean, the coral, And of course, the wildlife, it's unbelievable. And it's one of the unique places that you can dive with sharks, barracudas, and crocodiles. So, and it's something completely new because not too many people have seen people having interaction with this type of species in the water, you know. And every time, actually, I started to post some of that footage in my social media, and it's crazy because people think that a crocodile or alligator is gonna eat you or something like that, but it's not. You need to, well, of course, you have to be very careful about what you do, and you need to learn about each species before you approach to them. But you can see in those videos that you can have an amazing interaction with crocodiles there, and it's safe. There's not even one attack of the people that they go scuba diving or snorkeling with those crocodiles in that area. So we wanted to move a little bit from the Pacific to the Atlantic to do our third project there. But in this case, we're going to continue working in our films of Ocean Evolution, and hope we can. Well, we're supposed to do it in November, but we will change it because of all these emergency that is happening worldwide. But we will continue announcing our social media.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Good to know that there's so much hope in the future. And that gives us inspiration too at the film festival to know that there's a lot of people out there who are contemplating making a film, telling a story, creating a documentary. I'd like to end with one question for each of you. We could talk about hope that we have for the future. I keep seeing visions of Sylvia and her hope spots, and she gives me so much hope. So I'd like to give our audiences hope based on your two experiences. And so I'll start with you, Roberto, real quickly. In the making of this film, you had the opportunity to spend time with some extraordinary ocean conservationists, such as, you know, Pierre Cousteau and Ocean Ramsey and Guillaume Neri. What did you learn from that, and what's your hope for the future in terms of the ocean?
Well, I learned a lot from them. First, of course, Cousteau. And actually, Cousteau learned a lot during that documentary because he was doing scuba diving all his life. He didn't know how to free dive, and then he did an evolution. He learned to go down with a single breath, and of course with them we after the post production, and we start doing all the presentations worldwide, that we did it in France, in Germany, in Ecuador, of course, in Mexico, in the United States. And every time that you talk with them and you listen to all their stories, like in this case, Cousteau, all the stories that he was mentioning with his father, in this case, Ocean Ramsey, and all the project that she's been working with great white sharks in Mexico. It's something every day was something new to learn with them. And of course, Estrella Navarro from Mexico as well. She's been working a lot in Baja California. And Guillaume Neri, that after that, he did a big and amazing video that is one breath around the world. Mm-hmm. So we learn as a group, we learn about each experience that we have underwater, and now we want to do it every year, do something big to promote more about ocean conservation. And for us, maybe not as a scientific, but maybe to coexistence, to be part of them, to learn how to interact with all this marine life, because it's not dangerous, it's safe. You need to learn how to approach marine life, but of course, it's one of the most amazing experience that I ever had in my life. And of course, Galapagos was the first documentary, and was one of the best experience that I had in my life there.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, and I love your passion for it, and I love the film, and I can't wait to show the film when the film festival resumes, and also hear people's feedback about the film as well. So thank you for that. And for you, Max, just, you know, we've been following the 30 by 30 campaign around the world, the idea of protecting 30% of the ocean by 2030. And it seems to be a recurring theme for World Oceans Day, but also for a lot of ocean organizations. And from your perspective, do you think that's a tangible goal? Do you think that's something that we can work towards and something that we can achieve?
I think so. I think it is about time, and I think it is possible. I've seen it. I've been working in many campaigns around the world on creating marine protected areas, and actually incredible movement in the last 5 years. But we're still far from that. But it's also we need to think about not just what it's you know, possible today, but we actually what is needed. We're in this crisis. We know there's a crisis on climate change, on loss of biodiversity, and so we need to get to those points. The EU just joined the 30 by 32. We've been working also with the climate change COP for the COP26. Actually, I'm part of the and leading on the champion team for the COP26, and we put also the 30 by 30 as one of the pillars of this movement. So there is a huge movement there. There are countries who are already overpassed. Chile, my own country. I work a lot with many other organizations and individuals as well on getting to the 43% of protection. Chile is the 10th biggest economic exclusive zone on Earth, and it's almost 50%. And they just launched, you know, the NDCs, the contributions for climate change, where they actually are putting more marine protected areas in the continental area. So it is possible, it is feasible. We are not talking about rich countries doing these things. We can do it. Galapagos is a great example of that. So we need to move. And I think the most important message, Anna, for ending this too, is like there is hope. There is hope. There are people that are working on it, but everyone needs to get involved. We are still on 3% of highly and fully protected. That is little. 7% of protection, but other kind of protection. What matters, it's fully and highly, and that is important. We need more marine protected areas. They're really protecting the ocean. And so we need people to get engaged, like Gabi gets engaged with her project Aquatica, or other people get connected with the places that you love, that, you know, they're kind of in your heart. I mean, you don't go to places and just like, this is the most beautiful place I ever seen, and it moves me and it changed me, and then you just turn around when it's been destroyed. Those whales were sometime almost, you know, erased from this planet because of our greed. And now we have changed. We changed. There's more whales there. We can change. We have proved that actually we can change. But we need now everyone to keep working and to do whatever they can. You're a good singer, sing about this. You're a good engineer, do whatever it is needed, and you know the best. That is the thing that we need to do.
And very well said, Max. I mean, a lot of people, I always tell people, you do you, and make sure you do it with the ocean, for the ocean, by the ocean, but just do you and do what you do best. And so thank you for that last remark. I really appreciate it. And I want to just remind people, when you mentioned the children, Roberto was talking about pon las aletas y protege la planeta, which means, you know, put on your flippers and protect the planet. I think that's fantastic. And this is a very special Q&A for me. I think this is the first time I've had one where everyone is from Latin America. And so it's good to see representation from, I'm from Peru, you're from Chile, Ecuador, and Sebastian's from Colombia. So it's nice to have a Latin presence, and just how powerful we can be when we come together to help protect the ocean and to help have a voice for it. So muchísimas gracias a ustedes y mil gracias a todos que estuvieron con nosotros hoy día. Gracias. I can't thank you enough. Very inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone. We'll see you again, and hope to see you at the film festival one day. And like I said earlier, we'll keep the Q&A online on our website moving forward. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Well.